Hello and welcome back. I'm Joe, and it's finally time for another season of Work Ascent Resources Soviet Republic, the Early Start DLC. So, we are going to play on British Asia. If you would like to play along, the game will be available on the workshop. You can just go download it, and then you have to find it in your custom games. It will look something like this. British Asia, and then for rules, what we're playing with, we're playing pretty standard for this channel. Everything's going to be on realistic and hard. Day and night cycle, we're going to leave it at moving sun in 1930, but the map is playing on the Asian biome, or the jungle. There's no winter in the jungle, so just be aware of that. It is not the super hardest version of anything, and I explained that in a different video, but this is what we're going to play with. Vehicles lock according to start year, yes, and we will be playing with the Time Master mod, which will allow us to stay within a year as long as we want to stay there. So let's get started. Here we are, British Asia, and if you haven't played on the map before, it's just the British Isles from the World Maps DLC, and then we're playing on the biome for jungle, which comes from the Biomes DLC. It may be possible that you need both of those DLCs to play this map from the workshop. Sorry about that. If you want to play in a different way, go ahead. But rules for this season. It is season 12. It doesn't really have a name. The economic season is what I'm thinking of, because I would like to concentrate more on better setups and not just kind of guesstimating everything. But we'll see how well that actually goes and when that has to change. But that is at least part of the goal today. There have been comments that talked about, well, you're in the jungle. You can get crops all year round, which means you can technically get 2 full harvests per year, potentially, depending on how many fields and how many vehicles you run per farm. To which I'm like, that's interesting. Should we go down that route? My first initial thought was there is not enough profit in farms, and setup is relatively expensive because of the grain silos that you need to, well, handle and do things there. So maybe it's not really worth it. But then I saw a post on Reddit that was talking about, no, actually, after 4 or 5 years, you make your money back, even if you count maintenance and all the parts that you need, the building construction of buildings, all those things, and you can get free solid fertilizer by just having a cow storage facility as part of your farm, and that sounded pretty cool. So there was one suggestion that said you're never allowed to import any grain, ever, at any point. I'm like, okay. That is pretty daunting. Is it difficult? I don't know, but we need grain for a lot of things. You can import clothes and fabric and food and anything else that needs grain to be produced, but you can import those products. They're just more expensive. But it's an interesting challenge, but we do have so much space to get so much agriculture on here. It may be possible. And because we're taking winter out, I decided that, well, let's make it hard on that level. So yes, no grain exports is what I'm committing to. We will see if I regret that later, but it's something that we can absolutely do. The rest is really dictated by the map. I don't know if I want to make a bridge connection between Ireland and the main British Isles. But maybe. I think I would prefer ships, but I don't know how that's all going to play along yet. I do not remember where all of the resources are. I know there's a little bit of coal here and a little bit of coal right here. But that shouldn't really do much because I don't really want to get into coal before I have the research done. So there is that. Outside of that, I don't think there are really rules for this playthrough. Realistic rules, as you just saw, or realistic settings, as you just saw, will be applied, and everything else I would like to stay pretty economical. I would like to make things make sense, and then yeah, I would like to stay in the 1930s for a while, because once we get past that, once we have the bigger vehicles, who cares what we're doing there? Things should actually work along a little bit better at that point. But that's really it. I don't like when you set up anything that has tons and tons of rules, where it's really easy to get messed up, like, wait, am I allowed to do this? Should I do this? Should I not do this? Should we all do this? Etc., etc. That's just no fun. So, let's get started. The first thing that we have to do is just consider what we want to do here. these are our only land connections to anywhere else. And by that I mean we can actually get stuff from here, otherwise we need ships to get somewhere else, or airplanes or helicopters to bring things in. But yeah, this is really only land connection, which means we have a total of 4 railroad tracks and well, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 road connections to the outside world, some NATO, some USSR side. But there's not a lot. I know these are the better improved customs houses. They do have better pathing. They do speed up what you have gone through there, but their capacity is not unlimited. Maybe 2, 3, 4, 5 times bigger than what it was before, which is a lot. But if you run a whole republic, you cannot rely on this. So we cannot just assume that we can do whatever we want to do here. We do have to think about it a little bit, which means very soon I shall design a 4 field right here that lets us get out and in with trains and with vehicles without big problems. But that will take quite a bit to construct, so I don't want to focus on that today. But in the near future, I definitely want to focus about that. So for right now, we're just going to go relatively basic. Give me a location here. That is a starting point. That gives me just a roundabout. This is all we're going to start with. Roundabout, yes. Feels a little random, maybe. I just did that with 2 end parts of a road, and that looks... Why does that look so awful? Wow, what a start. You just completely messed it up. Yeah, I just kind of jumped into that way too fast. Let's try that again. What I want is a roundabout that allows me to connect to both of these customs houses from the same place with a little bit of wiggle room to get in and out of places. So let's try that again. Mud road here, mud road 2 right here. It's 2 mud roads because if I now do a roundabout around it, it's generally actually round, and I like that strategic placement quite a bit. And then we place that one there, and I don't look at that. Look at that. It's not making it actually round. It is doing the opposite actually, which is very, 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 very annoying to myself right now. Okay, if you make it a little bit bigger, maybe it will play along a little bit better. Now, remember that in beginnings, you do not get asphalt roads. Well, technically we do, but you won't be able to do one-way roads for quite some time. And it's also really expensive to get there. So this is just a temporary thing that we will run in the very beginning. And later on, we have to find other ways to make this work, which is all fine, and dandy. It's just going to take a little bit to get all those things moving. But this is our starting point for this part. We can connect to something out there. Then we have a road that will lead to the NATO side, and when you do it the way that I do it, I usually just put the first road in, put the other 2 roads out, and then use the left control click to delete a thing. Now you have a more smooth entry and exit point for your vehicles that hopefully don't have to slow down as much. So that's cool. Let's remove that node here and this node here. That option is right down here, and connect 2 pipes and all the signs. You can go in there. I just want to keep the nodes on here that are actual road connections, and then we can connect to our friends on this side. Should I use the 3 roads that we have? Honestly, I don't know how well I can splice it into the existing system. So this is what I'm going to do instead. Just 2 simple connections to that roundabout, and now we have a nice, simple entry and exit for everyone. We could put some slip lanes in here. We could put some bridges in there. Lots of options to get things figured out down the road. While I'm here, I feel it's probably prudent to just give myself a chance to assume where the rail is going to go, because then I also at least assume where the rest of everything is going to hang out. And I'm actually going to give myself a little bit of straight road there, and then a slight bend, slight curve right here, because I wouldn't mind running a bridge over this. And I'm just gonna give it a dry run. I want this bridge to be relatively straight, and I want there to be enough room to actually get on top of there. But this feels good. This feels fine for right now. This rail is not ideal, but it will get us started from where we need to go, and then we can just fill in the rest right here. Which also means I'm getting way too involved in this thing. I didn't actually want to get involved in building or planning out all of this until after I have the city plant, which is really the thing that I would like to do today. But this is the last pieces that I wanted. F2 can show me where the contour lines actually are, and I don't want to build that high up into the mountains right away. If you want to right click right now, you actually do get a little bit of terraforming. You can see my money is going down when I do that, because in the very beginning, the game is set up so it allows you, even on realistic settings, to do a little bit of terraforming for money, just because there's no other way you place your first construction office. So there's a little bit built in for that. 3 rails here should be fine. There will be a connecting rail at some point there, and yeah, this will become a bridge, which means the road out here will just have to come out to the side a little bit. But doing all of this with some wooden tracks gives me the opportunity to know that I have this space and I have this space. And there's another thing that's going to happen here. This piece of road will actually need to be... Oh, this is all nice and flat. Perfect. This piece of road will need to connect to that customs house as well. At some point, that customs house is probably going to start a lot of things that we're going to do here. So let's run a little bit of road this way. Make another roundabout that's much smaller than the first one. Not much smaller, maybe this much smaller? Sure. Build that one, take those things back. I don't know why this one is a little easier now than the first one was, but that's fine. Get all of these connected to something there, and then we have this customs house that needs to be connected to the rest. This will be our primary customs house for the initial setup, and by that I simply mean we need to get our resources from somewhere, we need to get all our normal connections from somewhere. So this is hopefully going to help us, and I don't like that it doesn't want to do the benditure the way that I want it to. Let's take that node off. Maybe it's going to be a little better. Sure. Yes, there's a back-to-back entrance and exit, but maybe we'll be okay. And now we have a connection here that can actually get us a construction office right there connected to get a couple things done. At some point, we're probably going to need a crossing right here, just temporary, so we can build whatever needs to go there. But that is not the main focus right now, so... yeah, what should you do? Normally, I would start building gravel roads right away. Normally. I say normally because if you look at your mud roads, the max speed is 35 kilometers per hour. It is reduced when it rains, which we're in a jungle, so it's going to rain a lot, to about 50%, so that's not great. But most of our vehicles, if you actually look around, let's just scroll over here, are not that fast. 31 kilometers, 45 kilometers, 8 kilometers, etc., etc. So there are some vehicles here that can go a little faster. But I do think just because of the rain and gravel not being that expensive, maybe that's what we're going to start with. Let's get a couple gravel roads going so we can actually start doing more things down the road. I'm actually going to start out here with a couple of construction offices. And let's do it this way. I'm going to do it this way. This is a temporary road. This will all get removed at some point, but giving me access to 2 customs houses may be beneficial in the very near future. So let's start on building some gravel roads. What we need is a construction office that is free. How many of these do you need? I don't know, but we're going to start with 1. Then I would like a distribution office. I have no plans. I haven't fully figured out what I want to do in terms of research yet, what university we're going to start with, but I'm not sure that we're going to focus on our distribution offices. I think we're going to focus on something else. And then you need a gas station for free. All of these free buildings are actually going to get replaced at some point or torn down. So I'm going to just keep it on this temporary road so we can keep things a little easier. And then we're just going to look around. Who do we have for an oil tank? 4 tons, 5 tons, and 1.5 tons. 31 kilometers max speed and 45 kilometers max speed. I feel like, because we're going for gravel right away, this one is the better option. What color do we want? I like blue. Get me one of those. Tell you what I want you to do. Add new connection. click on our custom cells, make sure that you load from there. We're going to load fuel from there and bring it down here. None of this is activated yet because the truck that can actually do any of this delivery is not in the building yet. Once the truck shows up in the building, you should be able to see what materials that building can actually move around. So I'm just going to set this very specifically to just get fuel. Just want you to do the fuel stuff. Cool. While that is doing that, how about we just give ourselves a quick head start? Make this a gravel road. That's a long piece of gravel road. I would actually like you to connect this and just do it at one time. And since we're already in the area, we may as well get these pieces graveled up. And this one at some point. Yes, for sure. But the construction office should actually tell you what it's looking for once it realizes that it can assign, get some constructions assigned to itself. I'm actually surprised that it hasn't taken on this one yet, but let's tell it, hey, I would like you to work on the unfinished road. What can you do? No source for gravel is not assigned. Okay, let's assign everything to this construction office right now. We're going to turn this little piece of gravel road also into a gravel road. Do that first. I'm gonna use this larger one for right now. Then I'm gonna turn this into gravel road. Sorry, I should probably tell you that I was really clicking my options up here. And if you expand this, you can actually, let's do this. Click on any of them, or you can switch around to different fields. Let's go on this one. Once you have a road or anything else selected, you can have this expanded, and then you click on it. Now you have it added to it. If you want to use any of them, you would, for example, click now 3 on your keyboard, and then you would have this one selected. While you have it selected, you can also say, I don't want that anymore, and then you remove it. And then F5 and F6 moves this stuff around. I just keep my gravel roads on number 2. Keep this nice and collapsed. Maybe if I keep it open, you can actually see what I'm doing, so I'm going to keep it that way. That feels good. I would like this road to be completed before this road because this one will be faster. It's also a direct connection to here. So I'm going to tell this road that you are my high priority item. This one is a medium priority item. You can also see that right here. High priority right there. Cool. You can't move things around. So now, missing dumper. Okay, I can fix that. Do we have a dump truck over here? We do not, but we have this excavator and bulldozer. It does both. Let's keep remembering that. If we go over here and look at dumpers, we have 2 options, 31 kilometers with 5 tons or 42 kilometers with 1.5 tons. Volume matters, so we're going to go with this one. Just 2 for right now. I could have changed the color, but I didn't. Next thing that we need is an excavator. This one has the same speed as the NATO version, but it doesn't work as a bulldozer, so I think the NATO one is at a slight advantage, and clicking the color button doesn't actually do anything here. Because why would it? But let's just get this one in because it gives us a free bulldozer, and I'm actually going to do 2 because we will need some terraforming at some point, and that will all be fine. But everything is assigned, the vehicles are coming from out here, and they can start doing whatever they feel like doing because it needs to be done, and we can continue planning the thing. Planning the first city is not easy, but do not start planning the first city, please. Very important. Do not start planning the first city until you know what you want that first city to do. You need to know the size that you want to get to it. You need to know what amenities you want to place. You need to know how many people those amenities have to actually supply. You don't want to go too large. You don't want to do too small. If you have winter on, you need to place and plan your heating infrastructure, etc., etc. There's a lot of stuff that goes into this. Don't just ignore it. So, the first thing we should actually do for building our first city is picking our industry. We talked, right, at the very beginning. I said no grain imports. I really, really like that notion. I will probably regret it, but I like that notion because it makes life a little hard, which means food factory just requires crops and a little bit of water. Not going to work for us. Booze, same thing, crops and water. Can't get crops, so we can't do this until we have a farm going. And when are we going to have a farm going? Right away, or is it going to take a little while? Well, we need to build a city with the money that we have. We need to figure out a lot of different things, but one of the bigger ones is, industries that we can actually do that don't require crops. We have the livestock farm, same thing. Needs crops to do anything useful. So yeah, none of the food and alcohol is gonna work for us. Wood, such a high volume, it's really not worth going into right away and getting that produced, so no thank you. Fabric factory, same thing, needs crops, but clothing factory is actually possible because we can import some fabric and at least go, let's see here. So we turn 2 tons of fabric into 1 tons of clothes, so 2 to 1. If we look at our actual prices over here, what is our fabric? Fabric. If we buy it, it's 150 tons, 150 per ton. And if we turn it into clothes, it's 5. No, that's buying. If we turn it into clothes, it's effectively a 3x. You still have to account for fuel. You still have to account for other things, but it's still not a bad industry. That is 3x improvements over what we can do. There's a modern one that has the same ratio, but less pollution. No, produces a little more. That's fine. So yeah, clothing factory is actually not a terrible place to start because we can at least more than double our money, which sounds pretty good. Gravel, no, too high of an impact. Plus the gravel processing plant actually has quite a bit of pollution to actually get started, and it doesn't produce all that much gravel. And gravel is not that expensive. Do you want to math out how long it takes to get back the 12 tons and 2.5 tons of mechanical components, steel and mechanical components that you can see in the menu up there? When do you get that back? By exporting gravel or by stop importing gravel. It's going to be a very long time, but this will be important for the second city because we want to move our gravel storage down a little bit, and then we can actually start our own production on that. Cement plant, all of these things are really just construction industry. Brick, okay. The problem with this one is we need a lot of coal, which means we need capacity in our trucks to move the stuff around, which is not easy. But if we look at just the money, coal, we can import coal for $6, 6 ruble a ton, and we can get back, and both of these are very similar. Sure. So for 10 tons of coal, which is $60, we can get 15 tons of bricks. Bricks sells for $8.66. So that's 86 plus 5 times, call it 9. 5 times 9 is another 45, so 86. Let's say $120. So we turn $60 into $120. That's not terrible. The only problem with that is we would produce a little more pollution. It's not the end of the world. We would produce our own bricks, which is actually important for most of the initial construction. So I don't hate this one. It just has to be a little further away. Every cloud is about 250 meters. The first cloud you want to be closer to 300 to 400 meters. So yeah, this is a reasonable spot potentially that we can build some bricks and get some of our initial construction industries done. Fossil fuels, we can get some pump jacks, but I don't know where the oil is and I don't want to just fish for it. Iron mine, kind of the same thing. Advanced industries, nothing is unlocked yet. And then we only have one extra industry that's kind of hidden, which is the explosives industry. Chemicals, gravel, and wood to turn into something else. Explosive factory, why? There's 2 of them that are effectively the same. This one is much cheaper, but it produces at the same rate with the same number of people. Something must not be quite right with this one yet. Oh, it has a lot more pollution. That's the thing. 15 tons pollution versus 10 tons pollution. So yeah, if you want to run with this one, you need to be relatively far away from your city at least, well, 600 meters probably, maybe a little more than that. But this is the other industry that we could play. So we have clothing, we have bricks potentially, and we have the explosives factory. All of them require different materials to actually move things around. That's not great, but that's what we can start with. What industry do I want to start with? I would like to start with clothing, and you know why? Because we can set up in a way that the farm is just right next to us. The farm doesn't require any people besides maintenance, and maintenance can be done by vehicles in range. And then we can hook that up to an existing warehouse that the clothing factory gets the fabric from. And then we can hook up some fabric factories to that. that takes the grain and turns it into the materials that we want. So plan for expansion right away. I kind of like that. Okay, well, with that in mind, now we know what industry we want to go to. I like clothing factory because it had the biggest impact in terms of money, so that's good. This one will require 80 people, and it requires 2.2 tons of fabric. Okay, if we want a fabric factory on top of that, one of these is enough for 2 of the clothing factories still. Okay, that's good to know. 2 of these are 80 times 2 is 160 people, workers that we need, and then the fabric factory has another 100 on top of that. So we're now at 260 people to run the fabric sector. Again, our farm still doesn't need anything in terms of workers, so this is not bad. The other industry that we can throw in here is either food or booze. They have similar profits. I always see confusing things on the internet, but alcohol may do a little more money, but you also don't need it, so you have to export it and turn it into food that costs more to import then versus just producing your own and selling it. So there is a trade-off, but I like this. I like the food factory. The booze factory could also be connected to it. I don't think our farm is going to produce enough, even if we produce all year round. So that's the other problem, but there you go. Maximum consumption at maximum production is 37 tons of crops on this guy, which is pretty heavy. If we look at this, only consumes 20 tons, and we only need 1 of these. So yeah, we need to at least produce 57 tons of crops per day throughout the whole year, which, well, let's do math, because I'm really bad at it. If you are producing at 50 tons, not 57, 50 tons per day, then for a month of 30 days, you need 30 times 50. That's 1,500. 1,500 tons per day. You're not going to produce that in a small farm. That is already bigger than a normal farm. So let's actually take that back and go with 20 tons of crops is 600 tons of crops per month. It's just about 6,000 tons of crops a year if you want to produce that, which that one is more reasonable to produce, but it may still require 2 farms to work hand in hand to actually make that happen. Is that right? Yeah, 20 times 30 is 2 times 3 is 60 plus the 0 plus the 0. It's not 6,000 tons, right? No, it has to be 600. 20 times 30, there's 2 zeros. 2 times 3 is 6 plus 2 zeros. 600. 600. Last answer. Final answer. Lock it in. 600 tons per month. So about 7,200 tons per year if I run at 100% the full time. And part of the season is to be efficient. So yeah, I think I'm going to go with that, but I'm not going to go with the food that can be in a different place and be produced there. We can see what we can get out of it. Great. Now with all of that mapped out. A big field. It says a number of workers on there, but that's really unimportant because it doesn't do anything if you use machines. Also, if you use workers, they will trample your crops, which is not super helpful. But one of these fields in vanilla at 100% fertility gives you about 300 tons of crops. I think with fertilizer we can go up to, let's say, 500 to make it simple. 500 crops per harvest. I'm assuming about 2 harvests per year. Per field. I think it's going to be a little lower than that, but that's my assumption. So one big field, about 1,000 tons of crops a year. That's a lot. That's a lot. Let's do 800. 800 is probably a better number. Let's go with 800 tons of crops per year. If it's a little more than that, yeehaw. So 800 tons, we need about 7,200, so we need 9 fields. I think that's just 3 small farms, or 2 medium farms, maybe. 2 medium farms, each with 5 large farms. That should work. That should work. Usually, I use the medium farms or the medium fields to account for not being able to collect all the crops before winter is here. But since we don't have winter, I'm not sure that there's any reason for that. The bigger problem is going to be fitting 10 or 9 of these in a reasonable place where we can actually reach them with our super slow vehicles. So all of that said, what have we actually said? We have said that we are planning on. We're doing fabrics, that's 100 people, and we're gonna do 2 clothing factories, that's 80 plus 80, that's 160. So our first city will need to supply people for 260 industrial workers. Not quite. That's 200 industrial workers for 1 shift. So if we want to do this fully packed out, we need about 3 shifts worth of workers, which puts us at, let's say, 750, because math hard. 750 workers just for the clothing factory, and then you need a little bit extra to actually run your city. What does your city need? Oh, I'm glad you ask. There are, let's go down here, residential areas. We need to run a store. We need to run probably booze place. We need to run some attractions. We need to run a clinic or hospital. We need to run a fire station, kindergarten, school. No orphanage. Then we need to probably pick a university. Then we will probably need a police station relatively soon. Courthouse and prison, technically we need it, but I hope I can push it out until the second city. We don't need an accounting office, and potentially we need extra income from the hotel. If the hotel can work for us, with us, we may be in a good spot. 35 workers for 175 people. Yes, please. We couldn't do clothing, but just even importing everything may still be worth it if we get some hotel guests. So let's just assume the maximum number of workers increases now by 35 for just industrial workers that don't do anything else. So we increased our 260 to 300 times 3, 900 workers. And then on top of that, we still need some local workers. So I think a city of 1,500. This is all this was. Figuring out your first city. How big do you want to make it? 1,500 is what I want to aim for. Great. What do you do with that? Well, the thing that you do is you check that your gravel is actually getting done, and these guys are not quite doing what I want. What are you? Why are you doing funny things? Did you just get your first fuel delivered? Wait, what are you? Seriously, what are you guys doing? They're doing like the roundabout. They're dancing. Okay, what are you dancing about? We know how many people we want now. Are you dancing because you weren't sure what you're gonna go to, or what's going on here? You're gonna go that way. That looks good. You're gonna go another way. That looks fine. I don't know whether we're dancing. I seriously do not know. But having you here... Let's do this. Let's undo all of these source buildings and then assign you to over here and see if the trucks are actually going to come from there. Nope. It's the excavator goes out here. Huh. I am not sure what they're dancing about. Okay. He is actually going out now to do something useful. Great. I don't know what they were doing, but I'm pretty sure they were probably wasting a lot of fuel. I'm glad I fixed it now. I'm glad I addressed it now. Yeah, let's go with that. So let's see what else can happen. Great. So we know where our industry is going to go. It's going to go on this side. It's not ideal because we are actually increasing the driving distance for all our trucks, which are terrible, which is also a reason why you want to get into your rail network as soon as possible. And honestly, I could probably start building some of this track while I'm in this area, but I wanted to plan our city and let them build that before we worry about those things. But we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. Give me a minute. But yeah, let's plan our city. Cool. Residential areas. What buildings do we have available to get to our 15 or so hundred citizens? We have a lot of these. Requires steel and bricks mostly. There should be no prefab used here. So that's not bad. You want to look at your quality of flats. You don't want to go much below 80%, honestly. Otherwise it just gets ugly. So let's see what we have there for size. We have 48 workers here. To get to 1,500 is a lot. That is 30, right? 30 of these. They're not tiny, but 30 of those do take quite some time to build. Is it 30? Yeah, 10 is 500 or 480. And then you need 3 times that many. So we know that. On the smaller ones, we have 56 here, 50, 50, 50. They're really about the same size. There's a 75, 90. Okay, from this one, we only need 15 of these buildings, which is still a lot. That's still a lot. And look at that. It actually requires a ton of bricks to do what we want to do, which means the brick industry idea that we had is not that terrible. Going back to our numbers. We said something about getting our fabric or clothing factory going. That's what we wanted to get started with. Okay. But we also talked about that a brick factory could be good because we're going to need a lot of bricks to build a lot of things in the beginning. This one can be built in more like phases, that you just get a few workers here and a few workers there, and as long as you're continuously building something, that's not bad. The problem with the brick factory is we're not going to export for a while, which means we're not going to get money for the bricks for a while, even though we said it's about you about double your money on that. We're going to use these, which means we're going to have this investment of not that expensive. It's really just 4.5 tons of steel. That's a little expensive. The rest is probably expensible versus the bigger one, 30 tons of steel, more bricks, more concrete. Yeah, maybe this one's not that bad. Getting our own bricks just closer to where we want it as the second industry if our clothing starts making us a little bit of money. Sure. Why? Oh, I purchased some excavators. That makes sense. So, bricks need some workers. If we do this brick factory, just add another 30 on top of what we have. So now we're at 990. 990, 1,000 workers to get anything going. And then you probably want to add 600. I think we're still pretty close with the initial number that we have because this is not that much in workers. Some people say instead of 3 shifts, just assume 4 shifts, but 4 shifts are a little too small for the numbers that I want to work with. So let's just do 5. 5 times your shift gets you to where you want to be. Great. 1,600 people, still what we want. So we still have to find the right residential building that we want to build. This one, 145, we just need 10 of these. It looks like a nice residential spot to get started with. A question that I would have is, who picks up more space? Oh, I'm clicking on buttons here. While you have a residential building selected, I highly recommend that you go over here and click Get Citizens, turn it off. You don't want to get citizens until you're ready to do something, and then this button should be the only one that you can activate by default because you're playing in realistic mode. Just make sure that you're constructing from resources. If you're not in realistic mode, you may want to hit this button just to avoid any funky things going on. But I want to know, how big is this building? So that one holds 145 workers. Great. I had this other one, 90 workers there. You can hold... I wanted to see how that compares, but honestly, it looks like that building and this building is very similar in construction, so I think they can just exist at the same time. I kind of like this. So this block gets us kind of where we need to be. This is 180 people versus 145. I think this one actually has a little better capacity, so that may be our choice for now. Quality of flats 80%. Got it. Now that we know what buildings we're going to use, which is the one that's effectively 100, so we need about 18 buildings. 18 buildings to place in our city. Good. Now that we know that, we can go to the next piece. The next piece is build the things that you need. I like to build from center out because of space reasons, and the small shopping center is probably a good place to start. It's really hard to predict how many people you can actually serve, but in this case, I can tell you 400 visitors translates to 7,500 workers in a city, or citizens in a city that this shopping center, this large one, can handle. So 400 is 750. If we go to the small shopping center here, it's 180. That is a little less than half. This is 84. Nope. This is 100. That is a quarter of 750. About 2,000. So this one's probably just the right size for what we want. This one's a little too big. So I'm guessing we don't really have a choice, but this one's probably our safe shopping center to start with. Has a couple connections, and then shopping centers details actually tell you really cool things. For example, station for vehicle loading, unloading. 3. We have food, we have clothes, we have electronics, we have meat that need to be delivered. Can you count how many of those are? 4. There are 4 materials that we want to deliver. You don't need electronics until 1955. That's when people start really complaining about them. But at some point you will need them to keep people happy. And then some cold storage, which only has a small storage. You can pick if you want to build storages or not build storages to get anything's really working. I'm trying to look at this. I'm like, where do I want stuff to even go? I think like this. If I put the road somewhere in this area, I'm not going to use the grid. If I put the road somewhere in this area and have our factory connections pointing this way, maybe that's good enough. Do we have small storages? We have a small meat storage, but it has a lot of capacity. That one is not ideal. Also, you don't really want to take up all of the parking spots all the time, because then emergency services may have trouble getting to where you want to go. So there's that to consider. I think the other thing is cargo stations. This one could actually work out pretty well if I do one spot for each cargo in here on top of parking a meat truck right here. As far as we have to drive, those 1.5 tons of meat probably won't last for any amount of time. So I think we will be better off. Do I want just local storage? Local storage for both things? Let's see. What do we have available? The smallest warehouse that we have will be this one. Ooh, I love this size. I do like this size quite a bit. If I plop you here, and if I plop the meat storage one effectively right behind you, like this, we'll do the factory connection thing, get that one connected, look at what you can do. I kind of like this. I think this setup will show up in a lot of places, but it gets us where we want to go for now. That's a positive. Pro tip: when you build roads, try to keep your nodes to a minimum. The more nodes you add to your road, the slower road construction is, and a bunch of other things are a little funky. I know they have improved the road construction mechanism, but you just saw that these guys were just turning around in circles for a couple times, so that wasn't super helpful. So yeah, there's still problems. It's good to be consistent than the opposite. But look at that, they actually got a little bit of gravel road done. I'm proud of you. Cool. We got the first 3 buildings planned for our city and nothing else yet. There's a lot to plan. We're not going to do it right now, but this is the start to something hopefully wonderful. And planning is key. This is a planned economy game, so if you're not willing to just plan out a couple things here and there, you've already lost. So just take my advice, plan things, do things the right way, and hopefully they turn out well for you. I'm just going to turn this one into a real roundabout, gravel roundabout right away. We'll see how things go. Wonderful. Yep, that's what we have. Getting started. Thank you so much for watching. I hope I see you again next time. It will be a lot of planning for the first few episodes, and then building, and hopefully planning a little more. I would like to get started on constructing some of the city here relatively soon. I think we should get started on constructing rail very soon too. The only thing I really have to figure out is how I'm going to run all these things, but I don't think that will be extremely difficult. There needs to be some bridges. There's so much stuff to do, industries, all those things. So if you want to get ahead and see things as soon as they come out, please become a Patreon or a YouTube member, because they will get early access to all the episodes, whatever we're doing, whatever comes out. So if you're interested in that, just let me know. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you again next time. Bye-bye.